Nigeria, China, you know, have maintained a very cordial relationship. And as we noted at the beginning of our conversation, it's a relationship that dates back to the early 1970s. That's more than half a century, and even still waxing stronger. Recently, during the visit of the Chinese, minister, our own minister, alluded to the fact that the relationship has been very smooth, and he emphasized without dispute. Can you make us or make this relatable to every Nigerian? What this means in real terms?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brazak, and also my sister for having me on this program. Now, the basis of China-Nigeria cooperation or relationship, and also China-Africa relationship, was established in the 1950s and 60s, actually, when Premier Chu Enlai, or late Premier Chu Enlai, enunciated the 5 principles of coexistence, which he carried to Bandung Conference in 1955, and it became the kernel of the founding of the non-aligned movement and the posture of China and developing countries towards each other at that time. So one of the the core principles of the principle of of peaceful coexistence is non-interference in the internal affairs of each other. And China has been observing this principle religiously, meticulously. And that is the basis of the absence of friction between China and many countries in the world, particularly African countries. They do not dictate to us, they do not involve themselves in affairs, they do not give us conditions in terms of political behavior on our parts to fulfill before they give us aid or assistance. So this mutual respect became the foundation or the pillar of relationship between us. Now, in regards to the visit of Councillor Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China recently to Nigeria and other African countries, it is in pursuit of already established objectives that have been agreed to by the leaders of Nigeria and China. In 2016, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, former president, visited China, and bilateral cooperation agreements were signed. And also, subsequently, he visited again. And since then, these relationships have been established at the highest level between the two countries. So what the foreign ministers are doing are actually, to translate the high-level agreements between President Xi Jinping and President Buhari, and now His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in terms of the overall architecture of the China-Africa and the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation that resulted in elevation of relationship between China and African countries to a special strategic relationship. And that is very important. And lastly, on this item, our own foreign minister, His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Metamatugar, visited China, I think in June or July last year, and met with his counterpart, Councillor Wang Yi. And a special mechanism was established between Nigeria and China that will oversee the implementation of the high-level agreements reached between the leaders of the two countries within the framework of Belt and Road Initiative, within the framework of the FOCAC initiative, and the larger agreements that were reached between Africa and China at the level of the China-Africa Summit. So we have existing frameworks that guide our relationship. Now this relationship have translated into opening up of Chinese market for exports from African countries, which I think the Manufacturers Association, the Chambers of Commerce, the Export Promotion Council, and others should take advantage of to penetrate the Chinese market, which is really virtually limitless in its absorption of foreign imports. Secondly, the expansion of infrastructure development programs in Nigeria by China is a very critical aspect of the development of the Nigerian economy, and the promotion of the growth and industrialization of our country. So I think, the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should focus on the translation of the FOCAC outcome and other related activities like the Belt and Road towards the scaling up of infrastructure development in Africa, in Nigeria, and industrialization of our country, and of course, in achieving food security and promoting export.